I'm going to call the committee of the whole meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Bell.
Here.
Trustee Coleman.
Here.
Trustee Grant. Here. Trustee Jazinski.
Here.
Trustee Sapp.
Here.
Trustee Williams. Here.
Okay. First item is we're going to go to the Director of Public Works, Mr. Anthony Finch, and he's going to be bringing a couple of items to the committee, or to the board. Is your mic on? Is your mic working?
Yeah.
Okay. No, he's they're not. Okay, I'm sorry, before you get started. Also, the third item will also not be presenting tonight. That's the Director of Finance. She's not here. She's sick. So, okay, Mr. Finch.
Good evening, Board, Mayor, Madam Clerk. What I want to discuss with you all tonight is items for the village that we talked about in the last few weeks. One of them is the construction road work done on Beeson Street, 224th and 225th Beeson Street. I got two different bids. One bid is roughly $14,000. It goes from $14,000 up to $45,000. The difference is the $45,000 bid is, let me say quote. The quote is for the road work and taking it all the way down to the stone. The $14,000 quote is just for 2 inches of asphalt. Because of that particular street doesn't have a lot of heavy trucks drive on it, it is not necessary to have the road taken all the way down to the stone. So my opinion would be to utilize just $14,000 to get 2 inches of asphalt down, similar to what was done on Clyde. The two companies that got the quotes was Suburban Seal Coat and D. Anderson. D. Anderson was the last company that was in the village about a month ago. So those are the two bids that I have. And I would like to put that on the agenda for next week. The other thing I wanted to discuss with the board and the mayor is, this is for you, Trustee Jazinski. I do want to spend some money, what is in my budget. I want to get a Public Works guys a mini excavator. As you guys know, they have the big backhoe, and I don't know if you guys ever been out there watching them dig up water V-box or anything of that nature, but that machine is very bulky. It takes up pretty much the whole entire street, so then therefore residents can't pass by. But with the mini excavator, it's more flexible and more nimble, and as it get on the residents' grass, it's not going to tear up the yard as the big one does. And because it's lighter and not as heavy as the equipment, they can move faster to get to the next one. As you guys are aware, we have several accounts that are very old and have high balances that they are waiting on us to dig up the V-boxes, but when you do that, the big machine that we have now, they can really get to like 1 or 2 a day. This machine will allow them to get to more V-boxes a lot faster and more efficient. That price is, I also got 2 quotes, one from McCain Industry and the other one from Dijon, which is in Beecher. The price range from $51,000 to $54,000. The one I would like for you guys to approve next week is $54,000. And the reason being, in talking to the foreman, it has what is called like an automatic attachment. If you guys ever seen a machine, like the backhoe for instance, they have the box, and then you might see them later on, they have like a forklift attachment on it. With this machine that's $54,000, it has what is like called automatic. So you put the attachment that you want to, the new attachment you want to change, you put it in front of the machine, and instead of manpower actually picking it up and putting it in bolts, the machine locks on it itself. So it saves time and the safety to switch from one type of equipment attachment to another type of equipment. And for the $3,000 more, it's worth it because they get for this particular machine that's in Dijon, they get 3 different attachments that they can use for different type of projects. So that's what that one is. The other thing I wanted to mention, I did go out and get another quote for the lights on Peterson and Constance. That second quote that I got, it was $16,000. The first one was from Contractors Power and Light Company. The other quote was from, I might say it wrong, it's like Lacura Construction. So one was for $16,000 and the other one is $17,668. I went out there to look and try to figure out why it costs so much, because you think with just light poles it's not that expensive. The challenge is they're gonna have to bore underground. The wires are underground, not overhead. And what Public Works did, they tried to locate the break in the line, but they can't find it, and that whole circle of Constant is out of lights. So that's something I would like to put on the agenda for next week for the board to vote on it, so we can go ahead and get the lights started on Peterson and Constance. The ComEd box is literally in someone's backyard, so they're gonna have to like board underneath the fence to tap into the ComEd box as well. So, yes.
I'm gonna ask, I know we asked about this. This is the lights that have been out for quite a while.
Yes.
And so you're asking to have this put on the agenda to be voted on?
For next Tuesday, yes.
For next week, because it's not on here.
No, it's not on here now. I apologize for that.
It was talked about.
Yeah, and I forgot to send it to the VA to put it back on it for this meeting. But so I do apologize for that one. And I think that might be it. Oh, there's one more project. Yes, ma'am. One's 1,600 and the other one 16,000. I'm sorry, and the other one 17,668.
This is the bore under the ground, correct?
Yes.
Question.
Yes, sir.
With regard to the street on Thyssen, you were saying that we only needed to do the, in your opinion, the 2 inches rather than the going down to the concrete. And looking at the decay in the street now, it looks like that was 2 inches. And it looks terrible now. It looks like it's ate up down to 2 inches. Do you think it'll be better for the long haul to go ahead and take it down to grade rather than to do the 2 inches?
When I talked to, because what happened when the one quote came back for 14,000, I did ask the contractor why there was such a big variance, and he was explaining to me why. And I asked that exact question. You'll get more wear and tear out of going all the way down to the stone. The thing that he explained to me, and I'll confirm tomorrow, is the difference would be if that street get a lot of heavy trucks on it. If it's not a lot of heavy trucks driving on it, it's not going to deteriorate as fast. So you're still going to get a length amount of time out of it. It's just a matter of do you want to spend money up front now, or let's say you get 5, 6 years of good wear and tear out of that street compared to maybe 8, 9 years if you go down to the stone. But I will confirm. But that's what I was told when I asked why there's such a big gap in price. Because he gave me both prices. His price was $14,000 to go down 2 inches, and I think the other quote was $39,000 to go down to the stone. So that'd be something that the board want to decide which one you guys prefer. That's fine. Or even need be, if you want, I can have one of them come speak to the board and really further explain the difference into two methodology. The other thing that I wanted to bring up was on 223rd and Clyde, the culvert right in the middle of the street. I got a quote from Calumet City Plumbing to fix it. You guys see that orange fence around it, which has been there for years. Prior to Jim leaving, Roberts Engineer, him, myself, as well as the VA, was out there looking at it, and he walked underneath to see. So it was one of his recommendations to have somebody look at it to see if we could at least fix it where that hole in the middle of the road, not in the middle of the road, in the middle of the culvert, is no longer there. You know, it's a hazard. So that bid came in $4,500 to $5,500 from Calumet City Plumbing to repair that. That's something also I'd like to put on the agenda for next week to be voted on, because as we get ready to go into the winter, I want to try to get a lot of these projects out the way before it gets too cold.
4,400 or 44,000?
4,400.
So, a lot of projects. Now, how are we going to pay for it? So, let's start with the first one. So, the project on Thiessen, road repairs. I'm assuming that we're going to probably use some MFT money, maybe some CDBG money, MFT money.
Yeah, right now there's when they did the MFT budget for IDOT, there's $37,000 allocated to use for streets. That's one option. The other options, if you guys recall, I asked for $100,000 out of the water fund to do repairs in the streets, in the village. So far, I've only spent $64,000. So that's if need be, that's where the source would come from, the $100,000 that was approved for me to use out of the water fund. But there is money in the MFT that's allocated. I want to say it's 35 or 37,000. I can't remember exactly from the email I got from Jim.
Okay, so, MFT is great, preferably use that versus the 100,000. However, if we don't have 37, it would be nice so we can get those budget actuals so we can actually see what you have spent. But I know that's not your thing, but I'm just saying, when Michelle, Director Worcester, gets that to us, we'll be able to see exactly what you have spent. You'll be able to see what you spent in regards to that line item. And for the excavator purchase, so 51 to 54,000 for this. You said it was not. This is not budgeted for. This one was not budgeted for.
It was not asked in my budget,
Right.
but in my line item, I have $50,000 to spend. This would cost roughly a little bit over $1,000 per month on a note.
So are we financing this, or are we buying this?
This I would say buy it. Finance it.
So you want to finance this one? So do we have financing already, or like a kind of?
Yeah, we can go through. This is also through Dion Equipment. We can go through them for financing.
Okay.
And right now it's 4.25% financing. So it's
For
like
how many years? 5 years.
5 years, yes. So between this and my 2 pickup truck that I'm asked to purchase, I think on a yearly basis it's $25,000 in total payments. So I'm still on the budget.
No, I understand you're on the budget, but we still have to consider everything else, because we still had that $45,000 water main repair. We had the culvert at the Public Works yard. So, those are expenses that we didn't anticipate, but we still got to pay them. So, wanted to make sure that, I know that you're saying you're within budget, but, again, we have to get that budget actuals to really see, where you are. It's going to be, 6 months coming up here pretty soon. So, wanted to make sure everything's in line.
And one of the things, similar to that snow box I asked the board to approve, this, in a sense, going to pay for itself. So if let's say it's $1,000 a month, I know there's at least probably 30, 40 accounts that need to be dug up that's over $1,000. So we dig up 30 of those and get half of that money. That's $15,000. That paid for 1 year of expense. So this in itself is going to pay for itself definitely over time, because I can put 2 guys on this and say, hey, here's 10 B-boxes that you got to dig up, knock those out, and once the resident water cut off, as you guys know, they'll come in and start paying their water bill. So it's going to pay for itself.
Right, and do you really anticipate the guys getting out there between now and before winter hits to do this?
Yes.
Okay.
This machine, by the way, too, is, if I get it approved, it's ready to be picked up the next day. So to answer your question, yes, we've already started, because last week we did shut off. We've already started compiling a list of what's need to be dug up and jetted. So they will have 2 or 3 guys, for safety reasons, will be assigned to say, here's your list, just strictly focus on diggers. And then, of course, when they dig, the water shut off, and then they have to come in and make arrangements with the finance director.
Can we just buy another backhoe attachment for the Bobcat? We just bought a brand new Bobcat last year.
That's a good question. I didn't think about that. And when I talked to the foreman,
Might come out cheaper than $54,000 too.
let me find out, and I will email Madam Clerk tomorrow so she can email you all with that answer.
My next question.
Definitely talk to my foreman.
We're in Dyson, about asphalt in Dyson. What's going on with Colorado States? That keeps getting kicked to the side.
That one I can't tell you, but if that's one of the target items that Robinson put on their list, I can find out what it would cost to repair that, and then just come back again like I am now with a quote to repair Carlisle, and then we figure out how we're gonna get the money. That might be one of the ones that's part of that $1.5 million project that Robinson put together like a year or so, 2 years ago. So it might be part of that plan.
He just mentioned that it might be better to buy an attachment for the Bobcat. I kind of disagree with that, because I don't see the Bobcat being able to do what this machine can do, even with the other attachment. Do you agree or disagree?
That I don't know. Unfortunately, I'm still learning a lot in this area. That's why I said I'm gonna defer to the two foremen and ask them and get a definitive answer. Can our Bobcat be used to do digs?
You won't be able to do digs like this machine can do. I'll tell you that myself.
You know. But at least I'll have that answer back to you, Trustee Bell.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay, well, should we delay the purchase of the hydraulic excavator until you come back, or did you want that for the other ones I'll put on there for the road project I have put on the agenda for next week?
Well, just to give Trustee Bell an answer,
Okay.
I'll get that tonight. I'll call the foreman before I leave
Okay.
and send that to Madam Clerk, and she can send it to the board. And if the majority of the board said put it on there, then we can put it on there.
Okay.
And can we confirm about the MFT funding for the Thiessen Street? I mean, can we confirm that that money is there and available for?
There is money. I can. I know probably maybe July. I got an email from Jim saying that we had allocated $30-some thousand for streets. So that there is money in there. But I can, if you would like, forward that email to you as well.
Okay. All right, well then what we'll do right now is for the Thiessen project, we'll put that on the agenda. I'm sorry, yeah, for the agenda for next Saturday, next Tuesday. And the lights, are you firm on that price? Yeah. Okay, we'll put that on, because that has to be done. They've been, yeah, it's been out for quite a while. And it has to be dug out. That's the only way you're gonna get the light in. Yeah. That's in the cold, that's in the medium, correct? I mean, I would like to, I'd like to see this equipment, because this can knock out the B-boxes much quicker. If anybody knows anything about how this equipment is, a Bobcat is fine, but you got to make sure that whatever you get to add on to that is actually applicable to that particular Bobcat. That Bobcat is old. You try to put a piece of equipment on there, you may have to do a lot of fabricating. So but also this machine here does a lot more than just dig. You can see it's got other things on there too that it can do. And who knows? The way I'm looking at it, might be able to help us plow with something in the wintertime too. Take that off.
I want to say one thing too. If any of the trustees want to see the Bobcat, this machine, like I said, is in Beecher, the actual one we're trying to purchase. And then we bought one last year for Linwood, for the same reason, because they was going in people's backyard, turning it up, then they had to wait till the spring to re-sod and all that stuff. So you want to see if there's two locations you can
Would
go
it be
look.
hard for them to do a demonstration between now and then?
Who, Dion?
Whoever that does this company.
No, this is a different one. The company, I don't think so. I can call them Mark. Like I said, they right up in Beecher, and the machine is already there on site. Yeah. So I'll find that out and see maybe we can set something
So I
up
just
for
want to make sure
Monday.
we'll put something on the agenda for that is conducive, so we can get it and get, like you said, we can start getting the money back off of it. Because you will get money back off of it if you open up B-boxes that is not paid in a lot of years, and be able to cut it out, then we'll start paying. Trustee Williams? What do you need for the oh, 23rd. Okay, yeah, you did say 40-some thousand. Okay, so it's 4,500. Okay, good. Yeah, that was. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so we're gonna put everything except for the, we're waiting for the excavator. And then when you come back with that answer, if you can come back between now and then and have it distributed or disseminated to the trustees, and we can put it on there. If not, then we'll have to wait. Thank you. Okay, village administrator, Mr. Joseph Wiswater, you have a couple items.
Good evening, everybody. Just a quick update on the Darter Medical facility. In 2 weeks, a gentleman by the name of David Silverman, who is the village's attorney for Dansling Lake, he handles the economic development piece for the law firm. We've been working with him for quite some time on getting the final version of the redevelopment agreement with Darter Medical lined up. One of the things when I took over was, that getting into the gist of the agreement, to Trustee Williams' point, there was a lot that was not secured for the village. So we have rectified all of that. He's going to present all of that to the board in 2 weeks, so that way you know all the nuances and the protections that are now in the new agreement. That information is being taken by Mr. Gene Steinmarch to the doctor for their legal team to review. Within the next 2 weeks, they should be finalized and sign the agreement, and that'll be presented to the board. So that would be on the next agenda for the board's approval, which I think is the 28th, whatever the last meeting is of the month. So that'll be on the agenda for the board to approve at that point. So that's the quick of that. Is there any questions on that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Okay, I need for you to, I guess, secure the boundary right there for the Sugar Shack. Because I noticed that their fence may be on the property, so.
We sent them a
Okay.
certified letter
Okay.
letting them know that their fence is encroaching on the village property, and that needs to be removed.
Right.
So we will
We gotta
be,
give them time to do that, or let
Yeah.
them know, because once we do this, I'm thinking that
because we
this.
can't convey the property with an encroachment on
Correct.
it, so.
Correct. So then we need to let them know that either he has to move that fence over or take it down, either one.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that will be taken care of.
Any other questions on that here?
Are we still allowing them to have the entire portion
Yes.
of land? in
Yes,
this
but
agreement?
there are protections in that agreement that would revert the property back to the village's ownership. There's also a surety bond provision in the agreement that protects the village, so if they don't perform, the village can file for that surety bond and get our money back.
So are we still allowing them to build their facility as well as 4 others?
That's correct.
What guarantees do we have with regard to what kind of,
Whatever facility that they build, and this is something that David Silverman can talk about, I don't want to steal his thunder, but whatever protections that are in the agreement are going to be discussed at that time. I don't want to go into that, but there are protections in there where the village can take back the property if they fail to perform, or if they start the project and they only get halfway done, then the village can take back the property. So there's protections in there, whereas in with the previous agreement that was drafted, that was not the case.
and also we had concerns with regard to them being able to, if, just say for instance, if they got in, sold the properties and then walk away on us, are we protected in that regard?
Right, so that would fall under their surety bond. The surety bond would be in place for the period until it's done. So if they fail to make good on the agreement, then the village could file on that surety bond. So we'll always have recourse against them. And then if they try to convey the property without, you know, fulfilling their obligation, and the village can take back the property. So those protections have all been added in there.
And now with the dive there, we're just doing updates, we're not doing any voting or anything yet.
No, I'm just giving everyone an update. He'll be here in 2 weeks to discuss that with the board.
Okay.
So that way, if you have any questions about the agreement, you guys can bring them up.
Trustee.
You guys were talking about Sugar Shack. What about the concrete blocks he's using out there on the parking lot?
Those concrete blocks would, before the village conveys the property, would be removed off the property, because the village will no longer own it.
Go back to his little 3 parking spaces.
That's correct. And that's problematic, because I don't know how one runs a business with 3 parking spots, but, well, and there's other issues I'll talk about offline with any of the trustees about that if they have any questions.
You get, oh,
This is for the next topic. If you pass it on. I literally just got this like 5 minutes before the meeting. So I printed a copy of the... Okay, so right now we have a banquet facility that has a license to sell retail, which is fine, but in theory they could sell to the public without having an event. So we were taking a good look at that, and legal recommends the ordinance which establishes a Class E license, and a Class E license basically is for banquet facilities and events. So for whatever reason, this wasn't done when BFF was open, so this kind of takes care of that, because they should have the proper class of license for the type of business that they do. So, the Class E license basically would authorize the retail sale on premises of alcoholic liquor consumption for events and banquet facilities, so private events, stuff like that. So, not to have it like a bar or tavern license. So that would correct the way that the license is structured today. So going forward, they would fall under that. So when the board authorizes this, then we will go ahead and make sure that that license is corrected. So they will immediately get a corrected license on that.
For consumption on site only.
For events and banquets, not for
Not selling packaged goods.
not packaged liquor, not anything like that. No, they can't. They're not licensed to sell packaged liquor.
Well, I know, I've seen them drinking outside in the parking lot over there. I mean,
Yeah, well, the fact is that they shouldn't have alcohol being consumed outside of the venue.
yeah, it should be inside.
It should be inside, so if that's the case, then we will definitely make sure that they're reminded of that fact, that has to be inside. And no, not at all. So what it does allow them to do is say, you want to go get a drink over there, legally they could serve you a drink without having an event. This is correcting that whole process, because banquet facilities are licensed different than a bar. So you can't just walk up to the banquet facility and say, hey, I want a beer and a shot. You can't do that there. Under the way the license is structured today, you can't. So we're correcting that, and making those corrections on that.
So question. So it says on here that we have 5 Class E licenses.
We're only going to have, that's an error, it should be 2.
So who's the second one?
Huh?
Who's the second one?
It isn't issued yet.
Oh, so we're just gonna have one.
We're going to have one available.
One available.
Right.
Okay. And so the semi-annual fee. So once this ordinance is passed, or if it's passed,
Well, right now they're paying $1,000 semi-annually versus $800.
okay. So we're actually charging them, or we have been charging them.
Right, and this is in line with other communities licensing for banquet facilities, cost-wise, I mean. So this is something that the legal put together on that. Well, yeah, I mean, they fell upstairs a little bit anyway. But the fact is that it corrects the way that it's structured now.
And so all of the fees for licenses in this schedule here, those are all correct as of right now?
Correct. The only change is the Class E license and the cost for the Class E license.
Okay.
Trustee Williams?
So just to make sure I understand,
Someone can go in there and just get a drink if there's not an event going on.
Legally, they can.
They can.
They haven't been, but they can.
Okay. And there should not be any alcohol consumption outside the restaurant or any facility
No.
or any event
No.
in Sauk Village.
Any liquor license establishment, unless they have patio service, should be inside. So if it's not part of their venue, like for instance, if they had a patio venue or something like that, that would be fine. If they don't have a patio venue, because I know they got like that playground.
They do have like a little patio.
What's that?
I thought they did have a patio.
I don't think BFF has an outside patio.
They don't, I was told, I've never been there, I was told they did. Okay, they don't
No,
have
they
a
don't have an
patio?
outside patio. But
Okay, they don't.
if they did, that would be permissible.
That would be
Not
permissible
necessarily
there, but not in the front of the facility.
But not out in the front.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so that would have to be separate license.
okay.
Also, do we need to add on this ordinance security?
The security provision is actually covered under events. So if it would not be for, in other words, this isn't creating a whole banquet license. This is creating a liquor license for it.
Right, but I mean,
The
the
security provision-
would they need to have security? I mean, okay,
That's part of their licensing requirement for the banquet facility,
is to have security.
is to have security.
Yeah, because I know the church used to have things in there.
Right, so for special events and stuff like that, that's covered under the liquor, in the liquor code, is that there is a requirement for security for
Security.
special events.
So should it be in here?
Not under the liquor license for the banquet facility. That's covered under the business license. For
So
security.
you're saying that there shouldn't be anything in this particular ordinance that states that security should be on the premises when?
Not as it pertains to the liquor license itself, no.
So you said there's a different license?
Is it actual liquor license?
Yes.
Ordinance, so this is just a breakdown of the types of
The
licenses.
types of licenses available. It's not the security
But
aspect.
it is addressed elsewhere.
Yes.
Yeah. There's an actual ordinance about that.
I understand.
can you say see and give reference where that is, because we have one here, no indication that there's another car, and someone can take this at face value and say, well, no, you never brought to me that I needed a security guard. And if you amended this code, why would you not include it in there? At least a reference to it. Is that something?
You said it's somewhere else. Where else?
Right, just as it speaks to the,
You said, is there,
Isn't the actual liquor license?
they get a copy of that when they get their liquor license?
that's correct. So under the special events and stuff like that, it speaks to security for the special event.
Okay,
In the liquor code, I believe it does speak to the actual.
so they do
requirements.
get a copy of this?
Who?
What, the proprietor?
So in the liquor license packet application that we give out, it does speak to the requirements of each liquor
Okay,
license.
so they do
This
get a
one,
copy.
the Class E will be added to that
Okay,
liquor license.
right, you just added the class, but it is spelled out somewhere that they get, when they apply for the license, that during their events, they should have security if they're selling alcohol.
I believe under the banquet licensing, it does state that.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't state that for taverns, bars, that kind of thing.
Right. Well, they have a different type of license.
Right, so that's a totally different type of license. So when we created the business license for the banquet facility, I believe we put the requirement in there. And I will double check on that, because we should have, in any event where
We
there's
should.
more than,
Right.
150 people, there should be some type of
It
security.
should be, yeah.
And I think that was an agreement that BFF had with the village.
Trustee Wade?
Thank you. Did you say that the 5 Class E licenses should be 2?
That's correct.
And
Yes.
also I see that in Section 5, letter C, it reserved is lined out, and there's something else in there about the hours.
Right,
So is that new also?
That's new also. So the underlying portion of that, it's unlawful for a holder of a Class C license to sell or offer for sale or retail or permit consumption of any alcoholic liquor between the hours of 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. So banquets end at 12 a.m., period.
Okay,
And they can't start until 6 a.m.
so that's new to this ordinance?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's common in many towns. Because I said I want pretty much whatever they have in other towns, that's what I want here. Because we don't want to reinvent the wheel, but we want to keep things consistent. And we didn't want to go to 1 a.m. because that's too long.
If they have a license that allows them to stay open to 2 a.m., how do we ensure that they stop selling liquor at 12?
Because they're going to be issued a new license.
That was my question. They're
Yeah.
changing the type of license.
That's correct.
So they're going to know they can no longer have parties past 12 a.m.
That's correct.
They can't have parties.
No.
To sell-
They have to
alcohol.
stop liquor sales. at
Stop liquor
midnight.
sales.
So
Right.
if they're in violation of that, then they could lose their license or be fined. And that would be that would apply at
So why would we allow them to stay open to 2 a.m. and stop selling liquor at midnight?
well, for instance, if you had a party that ended at midnight, you know, people are still going to be milling about trying to clear out after that. So once the liquor sales stop, they're going to be out of there. So
I get that.
12:30, 1 o'clock.
I'm saying we allow them to stay open to 2 a.m. Now, most businesses and venues want to sell liquor until they close. So why are we allowing them to stay open to 2 a.m. and stop the sales at 12 a.m.? What's the reason?
Well, most of the banquet facilities do close at midnight. Some of them close at 11, some of them close at 12. But for the most part, they're done by midnight. They want to get out of there anyway.
Well, we do have venues in this village that stay open to 2 a.m.
I don't believe that BFF is one of those. Now,
We have a tavern there.
like, for instance, Tequila's has a 2 a.m. license. I don't think they stay open that late. At least most of the time. They probably do on Sundays. And the other one I believe is Black
Black
Sauk. They have a 2 a.m. Right. But they have to shut down at 2 a.m. They know that.
But they have to stop selling liquor.
They have to shut down liquor sales at 2 a.m.
And 2 a.m.
That's confusing. That's confusing.
This is a different
That's
license.
what I'm saying, this is.
It depends on what class of license, it depends on what class of
Both
license they have.
places, just to say, if both places are open to 2 a.m. and both places are having an event on the same day, let's say a Saturday night, so, Black Salt is allowed to sell it to 2 a.m., but the other venue can't.
Correct.
It-
It's a different class of license.
It's a different class
It'd
of
be like-
operation. Their
right.
events are different.
So it'd be like one of the video
Banquet
game
hall
cafes, they don't
versus
stay open
restaurant.
that late. You know, they would suspend service before 2
It's
a.m.
what it is. Yeah. Are you saying that it's a different type of event because BFF is an event?
Correct.
It's
It's a banquet hall.
facility.
It's not
and
a
restaurant and a
bar.
bar is a
Right.
different one.
Correct.
When they say 2 o'clock, they have to close at 2 o'clock. You can't have your door open at 2:01 if you've got a
Right.
liquor license that says you need to close.
Right,
at
and
2:00.
our police officers walking in there at 2:01, and they're still serving liquor license. Yeah, that's an issue.
So if you don't walk in there at 12:01, make sure they're not selling liquor.
They would have the right to do that, and if there was an event like that, they more than likely would fine them, or would the liquor commissioner would be within his rights to fine them for that.
It's kind of confusing. I think,
It is.
I
It is.
think we need to look at that and see how we can, get some equilibrium there.
Well, it's not about giving them equal time. A banquet facility is done at midnight, okay? No, they don't. They would not have a 2 o'clock license. They're not supposed to have a 2 o'clock license. No banquet facility or private event should be going till 2 a.m. Now, if they want to continue to, you know, with their event, they can't have liquor sales after midnight.
That's good.
Madam Clerk?
The way it is, I mean,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for recognizing me. please know that one of the restaurants that's been referenced here this evening, they may be a restaurant by day, but they do have events after hours. They rent the place out for events. The most recent one was about a month ago, where a high school reunion from a school in Chicago. Not that it was on the south side, I can't remember the name of it, Simeon or something like that. One of them had an event there, and it spilled all the way out to the parking lot, and it was all over neighbors and all of that. But no, the police didn't call, but then by the time the police was called, there were major interaction. There was an accident on the expressway that tied up traffic. And this wasn't the first event that this particular place had within the last, I would say, 3 to 6 months. They had a birthday party here. In fact, you guys even brought them before the Liquor Commission because they did not abide by the necessary tenets of their license. So at some point in time, to what trustee is saying, they're right there together. Who will take time to go and say, well, let me see what your license says, opposed to let me see what your license says? I think that we're going to need some type of equality. I don't think that we can keep changing our documents to benefit what a business wants, especially if we have like businesses that's less than 200 feet away from each other. I think we have a responsibility for what we want in our town and how we want to be perceived, and that is fair and equitable. And if you do something for one person that's paying $500 a year and something else for another that's paying $700 a year, that doesn't necessarily make it palatable.
This is the problem that I'm having with this whole concept of the license structure, is because it gives an advantage to a business who's actually, like to her credit, is saying, we're a restaurant in the daytime, but at night I'm a bar. But I rent out my space, I have events just like the Baker Hall has events, but I'm allowed to sell liquor up until my doors are closed, and she's not. This is the problem I'm having with this whole thing.
Bars have a different licensing structure.
But they're not a bar. They're a restaurant that turns into a bar.
Well, then they should not be doing that. It's not a bar.
Well, to be perfectly honest, we're not here to discuss a specific license.
You can't all talk together, I'll put it that way. Trustee Williams?
We're not here to talk
I don't
about
think
that.
we're ready to move forward with this. I don't think we're ready to move forward with this because a lot of stuff has been brought to the table tonight that even I wasn't aware of. I didn't know that there was events held at that particular restaurant. Calling restaurants out by name, number one, is really not appropriate. But I didn't know there was these type of things happening, and now that I'm aware of it, and I can see how these do not really jive and how it is inappropriate, I think we need to just spend a little bit more time on what we're going to do with this. Because number one, I was here at the liquor commissioner hearing for that one restaurant, and I thought they lost their liquor license for a year. You're saying something happened a month ago?
No, that license, they got fined, and they were put on probation.
Probation for a year?
Yeah.
Oh, probation that they didn't repeat the same offense?
Yeah,
And then you're saying they may have repeated the same offense because, to somebody's credit, the police don't go and check, is there alcohol there? Just like at the restaurant we just talked about on this one, who's going to go in there at 12:01 and see if there's drinks on the table, but there's still people dancing or whatever? I think we need to revisit this. I'm not ready to move forward with this myself.
Any other questions? Okay, we can do that. We're trying, but the reason for this was, we're trying to get ahead of what's, because this license never existed before. So we can keep it the same way, because right now that's what they've been issued. We changed it because to structure it a little differently so they wouldn't have, and we wouldn't have that type of problem that we had before. So that's the reason why this license was created. But if you're saying that the board, I'll put it that way, the board is saying that I'm ready to move forward with this, we can bring another version back. But in the meantime, you do understand that the license that we have right now allows them to do more than what we're trying to limit right now.
So I have a question.
So right now, that license does exist.
Question, sir, or to what you just said there, it still appears to me that the violators are actually the ones who are benefit, because those are the people that have the authority now to serve until the wee hours of the night, and the person that hasn't violated our laws as they stand is being affected by this new ordinance. I like the ordinance in its logistics and its meaning. However, I see a problem with it going down the road with regard to somebody being able to advance in sales and opportunity and somebody being denied.
Okay, well, I'll put it this way. Right now, this E-Life Class E doesn't exist. Right now, we do have a banquet license that allows them to do more things than they should be allowed to do because of some of the things that have happened before. That's why this license was created. Until we can vote on a new license, the original license that they paid for is in effect for the next, I think, 4 months, 5 months, because it's every 6 months. Through December, okay. So we have until that time we'll bring another one, but I'll ask this question. We'll bring that back, but we can go back and forth. But at some point in time, we have to create another license because the one that we have right now is not conducive because of some of the things that have happened. And it needs to be a little bit more spelled out as far as the banquet part of it, because right now, basically the banquet license that's created, that's been on the books for a while, it will let them do almost as much as a regular lounge, tavern, or whatever. So that's why we change that so it can be specific what they can and cannot do. 12 o'clock, because right now banquet can be there till 2 o'clock. So we can go back to the drawing board, we'll bring it back in 2 weeks. But just that you know that in the meantime, the banquet facility will still be operating under the license that they got.
And the license doesn't expire until the end of December anyway.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. But we'd like to have it in place.
What about you're going to reissue the license?
You can reissue the license with yeah.
So, all right, so then we'll redo it again, bring it back to the board in 2 weeks, and I'm listening to some of the ideas that you guys have, so try to incorporate those. I mean, I have something to say. I mean, I just don't. So bringing it back in 2 weeks, I just don't see the solution of what's going to happen. So, because still, technically, there are two different types of establishments. One is a banquet hall. One is.
It's a copy of the actual ordinance that spells it out.
For them taking notes, they can't.
Not only that, it should raise our hand to be
Yeah. So,
You're messing them up because they can't.
interrupted.
He doesn't know you that well yet to do that, but go ahead, trustee.
so one is a banquet hall, and that's their business. They are a banquet facility. The other one is an actual restaurant with the license to sell liquor. So therefore, there are two totally different types of businesses. So there are two different licenses. So I don't see what's the solution unless we can't have them both get the same license. That's just not how it's going to work. So I just don't see the solution. I mean, unless we keep their hours the same, but which obviously that's what we're trying not to do with this ordinance here, I just really don't see what's going to happen in 2 weeks. Like, what are we bringing back to the board that's going to change our opinion? I just don't see it at the moment. I understand they're going to save a couple $100, and that's cool. But, I mean, and so I guess that's kind of like a segue here. So for the one business that came before the liquor commissioner because of some issues, like who's, I guess, following up to make sure there's no other infractions that have been had or, you know, going to happen within that 1 year time period? Because, something, I mean, if they have had an infraction, maybe there's some, you know, we need to readdress that. There was, you know, I guess there were some things that were listed in the, like, I don't know, what do you call it? And the, some, if they did an infraction, that they would lose their license permanently. So, I mean, I guess who's following up on that to make sure nothing is happening? But that could be a totally separate conversation in regards to licenses if they don't have one anymore. It makes sense. It's kind of like, I don't know. I just don't see anything happening in 2 weeks. I really don't.
And just for the sake of clarity, trustee, the infraction happened at an event that could have been classified as the same as a banquet hall because it was a rented out event that they had. To what the clerk said, they rented the place out for a reunion, and this is what the banquet hall does. So they were working under the same capacity, under the same guise as a banquet hall.
Yeah, except for one is allowed to do that, the other one is not allowed to do that. I mean, so that's, again, an infraction. So I'm saying, who's following up to make sure that when, you know, the residents or, you know, trustee, whoever sees that going on, that they're following up with the liquor commissioner to make sure that, okay, this is another infraction. We've already been warned about what your penalty was if you did this again, so here you go. I mean, that's like, whose responsibility or whose job is that?
Okay, in answer to the question as far as monitoring, that's the police. The police, just like they did before. I mean, I'm not out there, I can tell you that right now, going back and forth to the lounge. The police will let us know, and if we get, and not just the police, if we have someone that rides by and sees it, they will inform the police department. And they were told that if there's another infraction, their license is gone permanently. So, you know, outside of that, I don't know anything else that you can do. I mean, if they had an infraction, and they were put on probation. That's the only thing you can do. Now, when you're saying that this is the same thing, it's not really the same thing. They weren't supposed to. There were some things that were in violation, not just selling of alcohol. It was the overflow and everything else that was part of that. So it wasn't just the liquor. It was actually the overflow. They had, you know, I don't know how many people they had there, but it was more than was the capacity. So those are some of the things that was also another problem too.
And it was the time.
And well, yeah, well, the time is, yeah. Trustee?
All right, right now we're talking about an ordinance for, right now you're talking about a particular restaurant or restaurant and bar. This particular ordinance is directed for a banquet hall, right?
One has nothing to do with it.
Which has nothing to do with the other. What solution is this? I mean, is this a solution?
Right, so the solution is the banquet hall has a specific license issued to bars and taverns. They shouldn't have that kind of license because they can serve to anyone off the street coming in for a shot of beer. Whereas a banquet facility only service to their clients for specific events and stuff like that. So there's the difference. That's the proper license versus a Class A license, which is for bars and taverns.
So at the end of the year, maybe we could give them notice that by the end of the year, you will need a license for.
Well, we would let them know immediately once it's passed that the license classification will be changing.
Okay, here's the thing, you may have a running. There may be already projected contracts that this banquet all has.
That's why we would give them notice.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Maybe you want to give them notice that at the end of the year, Right. Now, what is there a problem that we're having with this baseball?
No, not at all. It's just that it's not the proper license. There's, I mean, not that I'm aware of, I haven't been made aware of any problems other than a couple instances where they're drinking outside, which will let them know that that's not proper.
You should drink outside anyway.
Right, I mean, you should be inside the venue.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
Trustee, okay.
Well, like I asked you, I think you should give us the actual ordinance for the liquor, all the licenses, and explains and has a breakdown of what their hours are and everything, and maybe everybody would understand.
Okay. We'll present that, and then, like I said, we have till December, so we'll present that along with a little different version, and bring it back up in 2 weeks. Okay. Is that all that you have?
Yes.
After they do all of that, they will send it to them. Okay, the next item is Madam Clerk, social media policy.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and trustees. Thank you for the opportunity to give just a very brief presentation and discussion in which to seek your suggestions. Last week, when I presented on email, I specifically did not give you the handout that dealt with social media, simply because I wanted to take a little bit more time with it than under my report for a board meeting. And tonight, I do want to talk about social media and social media policies and the importance of us developing a social media policy. Now, I brought something similar to the attention of the then board members, a couple of years ago, and we looked at the village's social media policy relative to employees. Now, we need to look at developing, I would think, a social media policy, not just for employees, but to look at how do the board of authorities handle social media. We need to look at what types of social media we can have. We need to look at our purpose and our mission. And I'm going to start you on page 5 of this package. And please forgive me, but you know, sometimes our copier has a mind of its own, and you can say it one way, and it will just give you whatever it wanted. I did not want to destroy any more trees, because I was accused of destroying trees last week. A couple of the trustees sat in this session with me at IML, and so those of you who were there, I have absolutely no problem at all if you were to jump in and share your perspective in terms of what should our villages, what should our municipalities' next steps be toward looking at social media. And you know, it's really interesting because on the 23rd and 24th, we had this presentation. If you can remember at the meeting on the 28th, we couldn't see live streaming on social media. Now, I can't even live stream, period. Okay? So and that's why we're not live streaming tonight, and we won't be able to live stream really until the very beginning of November.
Wow.
So, I think it's worth us looking at and making a determination if this is something that is worthy of our time. But as I said, the presenters at IML, they were very clear that number one, we need to establish what the goal is for us even using social media to promote the village of Sauk Village. What's our goals? And what are our expectations and the things that we can accept, things that we can't. Keep in mind though, when we're dealing with social media, it's almost like we're still having to follow OMA guidelines because our public will still have opportunities to respond. We have the obligation to hold on to all of those files. We can't just say, okay, I'm going to block you because we don't like what they said, even though some of it is some very ugly and damaging stuff. In fact, after last week's meeting, someone invaded my personal message on Facebook, called me a lie, and blah, 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 blah. I could block her from that because that was my personal. Okay, that was my personal messenger and not under the Village of Sauk Village. I have blocked a couple people on Facebook, but you know what I've always said, when you know better, you must do better. So really, I'm not really supposed to block anyone unless they violate some clear issues relative to Facebook. And in this instance, evidently one person did, and Facebook jumped on it and removed the post because they were talking about murders and murderers. In fact, they were defending our mayor, saying that he's not a murderer. And yes, and Facebook saw that and they removed that post, and that's when I was accused of blocking and removing. I honestly had never seen it. But Facebook, I mean, they're like, I think they just hired a certain number of people to watch it. But no, do we need to establish our policies? Is it just because everybody is doing it? I don't think so. They talk to us about different types of organization accounts. Ours would be an account for the municipality. We have to keep in mind though, on Facebook alone, there are at least 7 or 8 Facebook accounts that begins with Sauk Village, blah, 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 blah. So we need to look at how are we going to distinguish the original, not the original, but the authentic page from all the others. If that's something we want to do, is it time to change our name, come up with something else that doesn't even have Sauk Village in it? But see, some of the other ones say they have our logo on it, and you can't tell people you can't use the logo because our logo is not copyrighted. So that's something that we need to think about too. Can we go to the next page, please? We talked about what we would use social media for. We need to look at who can oversee the account. Right now, I'm the only one that can oversee the account. Is that really good policy? That's something that we as a committee, it would be great if, we make that determination, come back, give the trustees the recommendation, and then we vote on what our policy should be. Can we go to the next page? I'm not going to go into freedom of speech, but I really think I want to stop right there and not really go into public forums, even though that's something that we'll probably need to look at from time to time because we know our police chief have forums, our mayor has forums, some of you have forums, and all of this gives you information on your considerations for when you have your forums. But that's not the piece that I really want to focus on for tonight. Mine is specifically, can we pull together a subcommittee to look at what we do with social media, how, and we develop a process. But I will tell you one thing, in between that process, at one time it was like, I would post something on Facebook Eagles, and the only person that would respond basically would be Trustee Williams, I'm sorry. And I'm like, So they did say regardless of how supportive you want to be, how helpful it's going to be, because you have helped me out a couple of times, trustee Williams, they said that it's best that trustees do not respond on Facebook threads. Not saying that you can't have your own page, but if it's on the Facebook, Sauk Village's e-news page, for you not to respond because there's potential for OLA violation. And we know that we have people who just sit and work to find ways that they can file against us, and we just don't want that. So that would be the only thing I would say right now, other than Mr. Mayor and the trustees. Is it okay if we move forward? Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's important enough that we deal with a social media policy governing officials?
Question, sir.
So you said you want to have a social media committee?
Just a real quick, this is, when we talk about an ad hoc.
There's no such thing as.
Oh, yes, it is. I mean, if we can talk about bringing this whole thing back in 2 weeks, then if we have some dedicated people working to focus on this issue, we can have this out the door, I would say, by Thanksgiving.
No, what I'm asking you is, are you asking for a social media committee? That's what
I'm asking for a policy, and I don't think that I should do the policy by myself. I think that we should have, it should be at least one more of us on the
When you said us, what do you mean?
elected officials.
Oh, okay,
Mr. Mayor.
okay, you said one more of us. Okay, so you're saying that it should be an elected official along with yourself to be part of this committee?
Just, it's not a whole committee. We're just coming together to complete a work effort. So
But-
it's a work.
but you're saying- but
I
you-
may have said committee at first.
Oh, no, I'm saying, you're saying that you wanted someone to be there to monitor.
No, I said it's something that we may want to consider. Right now, all I'm asking is for you guys' opinion of me and at least maybe one other person, if not two, come together
That's
to
two.
look at.
Okay. I'm just-
Comment, sir.
Okay.
An odd number is much better than two, because then if there is a difference in opinions, you at least have someone to break it down.
Okay, so that, okay, I'm just trying to get all this straight. You're looking for a committee to come up with some type of guideline for the social media, to put together a bylaw, basically, or ordinance.
Policy.
Well, is the policy gonna be voted on?
Policy is usually approved, but it's not the same as the resolution.
No, what, is it gonna be voted on, or is it gonna be an ordinance?
Sir, comment?
Just a second. I ain't going nowhere.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get all this straight so I can know what you're asking for. You're asking for one, maybe two elected officials along with yourself to spearhead this committee to come up with the guidelines or policy for social media.
Only if you and the rest of the trustees feel that it's useful and that it's beneficial and that it's something that needs to be endeavored.
Okay, but that's what I'm asking you. This is what you're asking. I'm trying to recap what you're saying. So this is what I'm saying. So you're saying this is what you would like to have. This is what I'm asking.
I'm asking if you and the trustees find favor and the importance of creating a policy document. And if so, can we move forward with it?
You went all the way around and come back same spot. What I'm saying is, what you're basically asking, and that's what I'm saying, you're asking for maybe two elected officials along with yourself to come up with a policy, resolution, whatever you want to call it, to put in place to have a social media.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking. So
Yes,
okay,
sir.
so okay, that's what I was asking. Trustee, Sapp, you was first.
Yes, sir. I think it's important that we do recognize that there's an issue with Facebook, especially with regard to Sauk Village, because I see, as she stated, several pages with that's titled Sauk Village page, and I'm pretty sure that residents don't know which page is really the Sauk Village page, because I don't know. What I hate to see is a lot of back and forth on the page, because I believe that our official page should be a page that disseminates information, you know, and positive things about the village to give the village a good look. And if we have to take our Sauk Village name and have it copyrighted, get a trademark on it, so that people can stop using our logo on their pages, then that's what we need to do, because a lot of people do ask me about why is this said or that said on Sauk Village page, and I say, I don't even know if that's our page. That could be a private person just using our name. So I would like to see some kind of way that we're able to establish an official Sauk Village page, and then it's up to us to use etiquette, Facebook or social media etiquette, and not to be going back and forth with each other on an official page. That shouldn't be allowed. That shouldn't be allowed.
Trustee Williams?
Thank you. We already have an ordinance on the books. It's ordinance number 14-006 that addresses social media policy, and it states the word employees. But we are all employees of the village of Sauk Village. However, elected officials are held by even higher standards. So I agree with Madam Clerk. What she said makes perfect sense, that if I were to respond to a thread that she put out there and then 2 or 3 others were no violation of Open Meetings Act. So I agree with Madam Clerk that we should, and we need to just do an amendment to the ordinance that's already on the books. 14-006, we don't need to recreate a whole new ordinance, because we have one that addresses social media, but I think we need to put a little bit more teeth in there when it comes to the elected officials. And since we have an ordinance review committee, I think that might be the person or people that you might want to reach out to, is to have them review the ordinance that's currently on the books and work with them according to what's in here, because you did bring some things to light that we need to address. Second of all, as far as copywriting our logo, that should have been done a long time ago, because everybody's confused by all these pages. And we know that there's really only one official Sauk Village page, and I don't know why we keep putting that off, but the minute we put a trademark on that logo, all those other pages don't matter. We have to let people know, if it doesn't have the trademark there, it's not official. So that's something we should probably work on. I'm done.
I was just at you make a haircut.
Yeah. So, so maybe we should go revisit the policy that we already had in place, and if something could be amended. In order to, Facebook is, First Amendment, everybody can do what they want to do, say what they want to say, create what they want to create. We can't really stop that. The only official way that we can say that the Sauk Village e-news page is our Sauk Village, is our official page, is that we need to go about the proper ways of getting a blue check mark. That's the blue check mark. Have you ever heard of that, social media? So there's a blue check mark next to your name. And what that means is that you're the actual official person. So all the celebrities, all the important organizations, politicals, they all have this blue check mark next to their name. That means that that's the official page for that person. So there is a way that you can go about that process. And so what happens is, it'll say Sauk Village e-news, and well, Facebook has to approve it, right? You have to prove that you're from the village, Sauk Village, that you have to have like some kind of show government ID or something like that. It's like a pretty long process. But once you're approved, when somebody goes to type in Sauk Village, Illinois, in Facebook, you'll see the Sauk Village e-news page, and then you'll see the blue check mark. People automatically know when they see the blue check mark, that's the official page of Sauk Village. So I would say start there. That's one way. And then those pages with the blue check marks get priority over all the other pages when it comes to searches. So that's an option that you guys can look into. I would say start there. Because that's going to be the only really way to kind of, that's without trademarking or, kind of copyrighting our actual logo, which we should still do. But that's going to be the only way to kind of beat around that.
Okay, well, seems like we get what you just got through asking for, Madam Clerk. And we got 3 elected officials that have a lot of input in it. So at this point, I would like to ask, would all 3 like to be part of this? Well, then, 4 then. Okay, so then I'll put it this way. What trustees would like to be part of creating? Well, oh, you want to spearhead the whole thing?
No.
Oh, well, you raise your hand. Pardon me? I can't hear you.
Excuse me. You could bring it to the ordinance committee, and we can start
They
there.
have to bring something to you. They just can't
okay.
say, I mean, yeah, you're right. That's what we need to, first of all, put it together.
My understanding is already, by the way, I was one of those trustees who was with
Okay, so
Madam
everybody's
Clerk
saying something. I'm
at the
asking
social
who's
media
willing to put this
class.
together
Okay.
and then bring it to your committee or whatever. But I need, Madam Clerk says she needed people to put input, and we're talking right now about it.
Okay.
Who's willing to be part of that committee to actually draft whatever needs to be drafted on social media and bring it back to the board and then bring it back to the, because I was just told that it's not an ordinance, which I can understand, but it's a policy, but you're gonna vote on it. So therefore, I need to find out which trustees would like to be part of that, gather the information, and then present it. And then, because it has to be voted on, it has to be presented. So I've had 1, 2, 3, 4 trustees that had input. So out of the 4, who would like to be part of that committee? Don't everybody speak at once.
He's raising his hand over there.
Okay, that's 1.
And this is the ordinance review committee.
What you put in your drafted him.
Mr. Mayor, can I reiterate, it's already an ordinance,
Okay, but then who would
and
like
it
to put
needs an
together?
amendment. So Madam Clerk is looking for someone to work with her on an ordinance that already exists that needs an amendment. I think her working with Trustee Coleman and whatever other trustee wants to participate, it's a done deal. It's just an amendment to something that already exists. A little clause for elected officials that goes just a little bit further.
Okay, but it's not a done deal. You had something that's right there that you're trying to change or enact. You have 1 trustee said that they would like to work on it. Are you gonna just have just 1? I'm looking for 2 trustees that can work along with the clerk to, rough out. Why are you pointing? No, you can talk. Okay, well.
Trustee Grant, did you or did you not have your hand up to be a part of that?
Yes, that's 1. I need 1 more. Oh, you gonna say it? Okay, go ahead, sir.
All I'm saying is that
No.
when,
Are you gonna be, no.
No.
You don't want to be, okay,
no,
I need
but what I will, I'm waiting on whatever committee that you want to put together to bring to the ordinance
We
committee.
understand that. I understand that. I just need another trustee
That's all.
to work with Madam Clerk so they can put this on paper, the idea on paper.
One person is fine. I don't think that I should do it alone. So the trustee Grant, that has graciously agreed to assist, that's sufficient.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I'm asking, so I won't have later on say no one asked me. Okay.
Question.
Oh.
I'd be more than happy to be the 3rd person if you want a 3rd person. I will volunteer for that. I understand, Trustee Coleman, what you're saying is you want this subcommittee or ad hoc committee to bring something to your ordinance review committee that you can review, but you don't want to be a part of the person having the input. You want to wait till an amendment is created and brought to your committee.
That's
Very
exactly
eloquently
what I
put.
just said.
And, okay.
That's exactly what I said. They need to put it on paper, then bring it to you. You don't want to be part of the putting on paper. You want to be part of when they bring it to you too. Okay. So that's why I was asking, was there any other? So Trustee Williams, you said you would work with Trustee Grant. So therefore, to be on the record that those 2 along with you, Madam Clerk, that you all would bring it back, should, after you, word it, put it down on paper, bring it back to the board, and then go from there. Well, you need to bring it to the board before you bring it on the reviews, before you let everyone know what you bring it to order review.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. I'm surprised about Mr. Savage. You had a lot to say. I thought maybe you might have been on that committee right away. Okay. Okay, public comment. We, okay, can I read it first? I know you know how it goes, but for the record, all questions and comments must be directed to the mayor. Each speaker may comment on any matter concerning the business of Sauk Village. Each speaker is allowed one opportunity to speak up to 3 minutes and may not engage in debate, comment, replies, or rebuttals. Please speak, say your name, and you gotta turn that mic around. I don't know, is it on? I don't think it's on. Where's the contract? No. Can somebody? No, there it is.
Okay.
No, I'm going back and forth. Can somebody give her a mic, please? Oh, yeah, no, she's right there, right in front. Right there, there we go. Watch it, watch it, watch it.
I don't know, the bottom's gone.
Yeah, that's probably how the bottom's left.
Okay, all right. Linda Todd. I actually have a suggestion. I see that Habitat for Humanity is coming out and do some volunteering. Also, I was part of Ida where they were doing their community revitalization. But one of the things that this village needs to do, and I know it's probably in your budget, you need code enforcement. These Habitat and Ida have invested in Sauk Village, but it's time the village invest in the village. Going around doing that survey, there's a lot of simple ordinances that are not being done. You need more code enforcement. That person cannot do it by themselves. My suggestion is, we have a water bill that you, every month, could put simple ordinances in. Your garbage cans cannot sit out for a week. You cannot put your garbage can out early in the morning the day before it's 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. the next day when it gets picked up. You cannot have semis, the tractors parked in your driveway. I see one on Sauk Trail, it's been there long time. Now I see that Fairway has become a truck parking lot. That's not what it's designed for. They can go right over here to the truck car wash. If you look behind Fairway, it's become a dump. You have to make whoever owns that accountable. Don't give them warnings. Now, it's fine that you give them a warning, but now you're going to give them fines. We have to make our residents accountable for what, as I was going around looking, the garbage that's in people's yards. They're allowed to do whatever they want to do. My suggestion, put these ordinances, very simple ordinances that are like everyday things, no parking on garbage day, to alert our residents. I know these ordinances because I've been out here a long time, but people that have moved out here may not know the ordinances and they're not going to go online to look at them. But, okay, but that's my suggestion. Use that water bill with the information, which is simple ordinances. Just like the letter that was sent out about abandoned cars, grass, and things like that. Put this in your water bill because they're investing in our town. It's time we invest in our town. So if you can find money to get more code enforcement, that's what I would do because it's going to pay for itself. And that ends my suggestion.
Anyone else? Okay. That's a good idea. As far as code enforcement, we do need more. As you know, before we used to have one full-time, one part-time, so we're looking to the budget to see if we can get another person. Only problem we have is maybe the vehicle, but we'll have to work on that. But you're absolutely right, there are a lot of things, and one person cannot do it all, and there is a lot of infractions that are out there that are starting to happen because people are getting complacent, and we're not holding their feet to the fire, so I thank you very much for that. Okay. Going around the table, general comments by trustees and the mayor. I'll start with this way. Trustee Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I totally agree with former trustee Todd. I was with her when we were doing the community revitalization project, and we kept saying to each other, how did it allow to get to this point? So code enforcement is important, it always has been, but code enforcement got taken out of the budget a long time ago, and it needs to come back. So Habitat is making great strides to clean up the community. I happened to, they were out here last week, and I stopped to thank them. Amazon was out again, and they were doing a fantastic job over on Carroll and Peterson, and the house 2 blocks from me on 2 blocks from my house. Thank you. What's the other one? 217. And Jeffrey. Okay, thank you. Eyesore for a very long time. They did a fantastic job. I just had to pull over and thank them. And in the process, I spoke to one of the, a few of the Habitat people, and they were talking about coming up with a Community Day event. And I said it just so happened that Trustee Sapp and I had already talked about a Community Day event, and I asked them if they would like to partner with our event. My church was also talking about doing a Community Day event, so it seemed to be a theme. So Habitat has already put together a flyer for us. They are coming out on October 16th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. They had a vision, just like we had a vision, Trustee Sapp and I, to do a community volunteer day, but they also want to make sure that the trustees are involved in this. They want the community, they want the trustees. Amazon's going to be back, Habitat's going to be back. We want a huge community cleanup on that day will be spearheading. And there's flyers on the back table, and it'll also be on the internet. There is a barcode here that if you can go with your smartphone, you can automatically register. They want 25 community members to sign up. So this barcode makes it easier. So all of us need to sign up, and all of us need to encourage other people to come and sign up. So like former Trustee Todd said, Habitat's making a huge investment in our community. They want to see us out there too, and I will be there. And Ida, the people that are doing the community revitalization, former trustee attended a Habitat for Humanity meeting a couple of weeks ago and made the suggestion that Ida should work with Habitat. And when I spoke to our community development director the next day, he said, that's a good idea. Well, I didn't know that they weren't. So thank you for bringing that up, because who would have thought? These two are basically here in Sauk Village doing the same thing. They're bringing resources to our community to focus on vacant homes. So, you know, combining those two major resources from outside the community and combining our committees and our trustees and our staff to work together towards this project, I think it's a great initiative that we should all be a part of. So I want to thank former Trustee Todd for all of your input in the last few weeks, because vacant properties is really a stickler for her, which I understand because it's one of mine. And second of all, the blood drive is this Friday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. I know I talk a lot about the blood drive, but it's very personal to me. And we've also incorporated COVID-19 vaccinations and boosters will be available from 3 to 6 in the senior center. So I'm asking you, if you cannot donate, and a lot of people can't, can you please pass it on to a few people? Believe it or not, I'm halfway to my goal. And this is Tuesday. By Friday, I need to have my goal. What happens is a lot of people come, and then they can't donate because their iron levels aren't up, or they didn't eat breakfast that day. There's a ton of reasons why they get turned away at the door, and I really don't want that to happen. Type O blood is extremely necessary because it can be used by so many people. So I'm begging you, please, reach out to people, and if you know anybody who's looking for their booster, it's all free, and it's available from 3 to 6. Family Christian Health Center will be doing the vaccinations, and Varsity Blood Center will be doing the blood drive. And that's all I have. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I just got them today late. You'll get them.
Trustee Coleman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Concerning this, the ordinance about social media or the social media issue, looking forward to it coming to the committee. All right, once it comes to the committee, I'm looking forward to working with it. I'm looking forward to anything that the ordinance committee has to do, because it's something I believe that needs to be done. We need to be working with our laws and, you know, ordinances and everything that pertains to law and order in this village. So I'm looking forward to social media, this social media issue coming to my committee. My committee, by the way, The next meeting is on October the 17th, that's a Monday, at 7 p.m. I'm looking forward to seeing anyone who wants to come to the committee. And that concludes my comment.
Thank you. Trustee Bell?
Thank you, Mayor. My committee meeting will be Friday, 3:30 here in the Rotunda. And I can use a couple more members, but I have enough to get started. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Grant?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We were supposed to review the budget actuals today, but the finance director was out sick, so she said in 2 weeks we will kind of do it again. However, I will say that I'm hoping that in 2 weeks we could kind of just skip over July and just go straight to August, and preferably September, but we'll see if we can kind of get that included as well. She did want me to remind you guys, if you have not turned in your expense form from IML, to do that, and that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Trustee Jazinski? You're right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I still need committee members. I have nobody on my committee, and I can't have meetings without it. So please, if anybody wants to be on the housing committee, please leave your name and number at the front window. Thanks.
Thank you. Trustee Sapp?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to add that I need to be a little more educated with regard to these new ordinances that we want to pass. I'm hoping that the village administrator would, as sooner than later, get copies of the ordinance to me and other board members so that we can make an informed decision regarding the new ordinance that he wants to pass, and we can get it done. You know, I don't want to wait until 2 weeks is up and come in here and then we have another discussion and another discussion. Get us the information, let us look at it, and we can all come in here and make an informed decision. And that's what I have on that. I would also like to say that my Public Service Committee meets on Monday at 6 p.m. Next Monday at 6 p.m. All are welcome to come. We do have a cleanup day scheduled, again, like Trustee Williams said, on August 16th, 8 a.m. And we're inviting all the trustees, the mayor, the clerk, the VA, and all residents who want to join us to please come out and join us on that day. If you want more information about it, you can contact Trustee Williams or myself, or you can come to my meeting on Monday and get well informed. And that's all I got, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a correction to my comment. The ordinance meeting is following Trustee Sapp's meeting on October the 11th. No.
Oh, because you said the 17th.
Yeah,
So
I know.
it's
So that's the correction, that it's on the 11th. Yes. At 7 p.m. Okay, thank you.
Okay, real quick, I'm going to be asking the board pretty soon, as soon as I can get it from legal, I would like to put out that all employees in the village either be vaccinated or tested. Tested on a weekly basis or vaccinated. Of all employees, people that work for the village and in the village, that work in the village hall. So I'm gonna run it and talk to legal to find out what we have to do to make that happen. And then I would like to get that done. So it will be coming before the board once I get that taken care of.
You say in the village hall or the village?
No, all employees in the village, either be in the village hall or be outside, but all employees in the village either be vaccinated or tested weekly. But I have to, like I said, I have to make sure that we can do that, and I'm gonna find out, but I'll be bringing that before the board. So everyone understands the trend is going back up, and they're saying that when the weather changes, it's going to even get worse. And most people that have COVID have never been vaccinated. So that's why I want to put something in place that either you are vaccinated or you're going to get tested. So, that being Go ahead, go ahead.
About what you just said about, asking them to test, we're gonna be providing testing for them on an outside clinic, or?
No, but they have to bring back proof that they were tested.
Okay, so they can go and have their testing.
They can have tested wherever they have to bring proof that it's going to be on a weekly basis.
If they don't get vaccinated.
Yes, they don't get vaccinated, they'll be tested, and they have to show proof every week.
Got it.
You say vaccinated, I understand the first 2 shots, or you're missing all 3 shots.
Well, vaccinated means you have to get vaccinated. And then if there's a booster, you should get your booster.
But they don't all.
Well, if you're vaccinated, I mean, why would you not get your booster?
No, I'm just saying,
Yeah. Okay. They don't have a booster for it, then there's nothing you can do, but you can show that you were vaccinated. You know, so I'm just saying that has to be, I just want to make sure. Because I'm going to get ahead of the curve, because when it gets, as you know, the breakout last year was basically mainly in the colder weather. And then, you know, right now, people that are not vaccinated are the ones that are actually spreading it now. That being said, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. There you go. It was moved by everyone, and second by, no, I'm sorry, it was moved by Trustee Sapp, we got to have a name, second by Trustee Grant. Oh, Trustee Bell, okay.
Was that Bell or was that Bell? I thought it was Coleman.
You have a
It was
deputy
Coleman.
clerk that doesn't know you guys' voices.
No, I thought it was Coleman.
Okay, Trustee Coleman, oh, okay, Coleman. Okay, all in favor? Unanimous.